Special.
I did too.
And
Good.
it was.
I did too.
It was exactly what I thought it was.
Yeah.
It was exactly what I thought it was. My wife.
Did you like
and
it?
I did like it.
Okay, good.
My wife and I started watching it, and he opens up and he tells the thing about it, and he's talking about Anthony Bourdain, and she's like, okay, and then he starts telling the Michael Jackson thing. She gets up, walks away.
Yeah.
Right. But she said the same thing because we had a whole conversation. I took her out for a birthday dinner, went out with friends, and we were talking about the Chappelle thing, and we had the same conversation we've had in this room many times. And she's like, well, I want to watch it now. And she walked up. She's like, she's like, he shouldn't be, fired for anything. But that's not for me. And I said, that's the mentality.
There you go.
There it is.
That's the
Did you
mentality.
watch the epilogue?
I missed the epilogue. I didn't watch the epilogue yet.
The epilogue is my favorite part because, I mean, listen, I love his stand-up. I think there were some parts where I kind of zoned out a little bit, and then there's some parts that I absolutely loved, and I love Dave Chappelle. But the epilogue is what I want from a stand-up thing. It's just him off the cuff, him telling stories about people, him doing that kind of stuff, like talking about Charlie Murphy and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I love his crowd interactions, and I understand he's a pure like written stand-up when he does his thing. He doesn't do a lot of like Patrice O'Neal had that special where he like fucked with the audience half the special. So the epilogue to me was just absolute brilliance and genius. I could watch the epilogue anytime, anywhere. But I mean, if we're talking about stand-up specials, best one in the last couple of years.
It just got people talking because there was some stuff like I liked it, and I think he's one of the best out there. He's not one of my favorites, but he's definitely. I appreciate how brilliant he is. I appreciate everything that he does, and the fact that he's so ballsy and takes a lot of chances. There was some stuff that I was watching, and I'm like, I don't agree with any of this, but he's going for it, and it's well crafted. It's Chappelle, and there's no fear.
Yeah.
There's no fear, and he knows the way that he's got to present the joke, what he wants to do with the joke. But Roxy, you saw it. What did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I love him. I didn't like laugh much, as I usually don't with Chappelle. I did more with the Chappelle show as opposed to his stand-up, which makes me more like, wow, that was smart, or, oh, interesting. But I thought it was great. I thought it was less... it was what you thought it was going to be. It was less what I thought it was going to be.
So you thought it was going to be way more controversial?
Way more controversial. Because even the stuff with Michael Jackson or Bourdain or whatever, I didn't feel like he was putting in his opinion as much as everybody else said he was doing.
It was just the fact that he was talking about it and the way that the culture is today. You can't talk about
100%.
shit.
But the way that it was pitched to me was, he really doesn't believe these men and makes a point for why they're lying about Michael Jackson. I was like, that's not what I gathered at all. So,
his point, his joke was the fact that even if they were telling the truth, and what he went into, and I was like, that's a crazy joke.
Well, he says, half the people in the audience here have been molested. The most that you can hope for is that it's by MJ. And I was like, that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I said. That's what I said. I was like, how are you laughing at that? I was like, because if you think about the premise itself, I was like, I was mortified watching that HBO special. Mortified watching it. But listening to his take on it, that was the whole thing we talked about many times before and what George Carlin said. Yeah. Anything can be funny. It's just whether or not you think it's funny.
And people have come at me like, how can you laugh at that? You were the one that was so... I'm like, guys...
Because it was funny.
It was... Like, you were right. The premise of it, of the whole thing. Yeah. I can remove myself from the situation. That still doesn't take away from the fact that watching that documentary series was sickening.
Yes, and
he said it was like having little wee-wees.
But it's also the way that he that's what a great comedian can do. There is not someone else can take the same exact words that Dave Chappelle said, same words, and do that, and it's not funny. And fail miserably because you're like, it's the way his voice sounds, it's the way he moves his hands, it's the way it's like that's the type of thing you can do. Like same look, take Ellis's jokes, right? Ellis's exact jokes. You can't do them the same way. Even if you had them. Because it's a way that Ellis presents himself and the way that he times it and the way that he moves that is him. There are other people who steal jokes, obviously, and they can make it their own. But it's different, especially something like this. Mm-hmm. This is very few people can get away with it, and that's why he knows, because it's that no fear thing.
But to me, his funniest bit was LGBTQ.
Yes.
I thought that was by far and away his funniest.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
So
because the conversation you had with that woman in the HR in the standards and practices, it's one of the amazing.
His punchline of that, I was like, my jaw. That was one of those moments where, again, I'm not laughing. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. He's like this, such an amazing storyteller.
He's a great storyteller.
Such a great storyteller.
It was a great special.
Let me ask you guys a question about it, though, that I was a little confused on. These are highly edited, correct?
I guess.
Because why did he keep in the phone, somebody's phone?
Because you got a lot of laughs out of it.
Oh,
You got
okay.
a lot of
I
laughs
didn't.
out of that.
I didn't think that was funny. So he did it because it was.
I
think
Like, did he set that up on purpose?
Yeah, because he said he started because he no, I don't think he set it up.
Oh, okay.
I think so there was a thing that I did this is 2006, and I was in the middle of doing this particular joke that I did, and this waitress walks through and drops a whole plate and glass breaks.
Yeah.
But it was about old timey words and stuff, and I threw it. I said, "Well, I'm flabbergasted that just happened," and it
Yeah.
worked because you just get lucky sometimes.
Right.
You
Yes.
get lucky.
Yeah.
And he was able to play it, and you also know how to like spin it. And he spun. I did think that was very funny. Like,
okay.
So when the stuff started ringing, and he kept having those liners, but then he spun it back in. That just shows. And they probably said, "Do you want to cut it down?" He's like, "Fuck it, leave it." Just
Oh,
go
okay,
through
okay.
it. Yeah, yeah.
I just didn't know if he like had planted that so that he could do those.
No.
Like most comedy specials, like Ellis's Night in Chicago, he does 2 shows. He takes either he took one full show or like because of the noise from
Right.
Johnny Jump Band and the Assholes. He had to
Great
work
band, by the way.
Yeah, sick band. Their number 1 single,
Fart Tower.
Yeah, Fart Tower.
Yeah.
That's Party at the Fart Tower.
Party at the Fart Tower. Don't, it's party at the Fart Tower.
Fart Tower, party at the Fart Tower.
Party at the Fart Tower. Who's doing fart in the Fart Tower? I remember. Okay,
That's good.
Good.
But like Bill Burr, when he talks about his first HBO special, which today, like,
What's the best special?
Bill Burr's first HBO special is my favorite comedy special all time of anybody ever. And he did it over 2 nights. And he was like, to be honest with you, they took the entire second night. Like that was it, and he's like very little was edited out of it, all that kind of stuff. Kind of just depends on the special.
It depends on the set, but that particular thing, definitely wasn't a plant. Just because I thought it was pretty funny.
Like
anyway,
Adam
just the way that it rang sounded fake.
It was like I thought it was just music playing in the background.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
So maybe it was my mindset because I guess part of it was a little funny, but I was like, "What's happening right now?"
Right, you were thrown off.
Well, only because
It
you
threw
guys
the bit
know
off
this is
too,
and that was a bummer to me because he was in such a flow,
Yeah.
and then I was like, "Get back to it." God, wait, what's happening?